And welcome back, everybody.
It's not welcome back. This is our first
Welcome
one.
back, everybody, again.
Welcome to our very first podcast on this show.
Hey, how about that?
How's it going?
Oh, it's going great. Thanks for having me on.
Oh, yeah. I was talking to you.
A big fan of the show. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks for being here.
It's going great. Thanks for asking.
I don't think we can... Okay.
How's it going to you? How's it going for you?
It's going pretty good.
Oh, that's great. Big fan of the show. Big fan.
Okay, so let's just explain a little bit about who we are, why we are here, what we're doing.
I'm Jeremiah.
I was supposed to go first.
I'm so sorry. Big fan of the show. Go ahead.
Okay, so we are, obviously this is Ageekable, and I've been listening to a few podcasts recently, not a ton, but,
Me too.
enough, and I've just been thinking it would be a lot of fun to do a podcast, and Jeremiah and I can talk for a long time, so we thought this would be fun, so we're going to try it out. We've got a topic, we've got some fans.
That second part is not true.
I lied.
But we got an idea, and you know what? That's we got a dream.
I mean, really,
We're basically Martin Luther King.
America.
I'd like to apologize for that comment I made.
Let's jump right in. But, I have noticed, with the few podcasts that I've listened to that, they spend a long time on music. They'll play a long intro, and then they also spend a long time, I listen...
Up to a minute, which is pretty long.
Probably about a minute, but I also spend a fair amount of time listening to, film podcasts.
Okay.
And they'll play, clips from movies, clips from old movies kind of as a joke, or they're trying to make a point or whatever, and they go on for, a solid minute.
Wow.
And it's, especially if you don't,
Just, throughout the podcast, it'll just be, minute-long segments of
usually it's
movies
only, once or twice in an hour-long podcast. But it always throws me, because I'm like, how long is this clip? Yeah. I came here to listen to the podcast, not listen to a movie. So, speaking of movies...
Is that how we're going to segue into
Yes. So,
That's really annoying. Is that going to help at all or do anything?
Makes you look cool.
No, it does not.
Too bad this is a podcast.
Maybe I should just take them off. How bad do I really need them? You know what I'm saying? Does this thing work with Bluetooth?
Yes.
Does it really?
No. Okay. There's no reason to lie about that.
Because you immediately had to divulge that you were lying. Slightly.
Yeah, only lie if it's a sustainable lie.
Yeah, that's the
That's
the
what
moral
movies
of
have
the
taught
story.
me.
If you're going to lie, just make sure it's sustainable and you can actually, it's not something that you're going to have to immediately just admit is wrong.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, I lied.
About the microphone? I figured that part out, yeah.
This isn't a podcast.
Oh, this is like Troy and Abed in the morning. Where
Troy
it's just...
and Abed in the morning.
Wait, do that again. I wasn't ready.
Troy and Abed in the morning.
I still wasn't ready. But it's okay.
I don't think anyone was ready for us to do that.
Definitely not.
I think it's fine. I haven't heard it for a little while.
Yeah. I feel like it's going to keep happening, though, because I want to lean on this side, so I'm like...
Well, if you talk constantly, then we can't really hear it.
Okay, well, that sounds like a good idea to me, so I guess I'll just non-stop constantly be...
Do that.
No, that sounds like a terrible idea.
Actually sounds pretty good.
No, it's still happening.
Sounds. Okay, we'll do this. This is riveting material.
Entertainment, ladies and gentlemen.
I might cut this down just a little bit.
Yeah, just a
We are.
just
This
a
is
little.
our first time doing this, so we're figuring out technical stuff. So,
who wants to sit around and watch Jeremiah and Rebecca try to figure out how to not make annoying sounds constantly?
How to podcast.
Yeah, that's a good idea, actually. This first episode should just be us
Just how to.
learning how to make a podcast and then divulging those secrets as we go.
If you don't want your headphones to make a noise, tie the cord onto
I wasn't
your
serious.
tripod.
That was a joke. You kind of took that pretty literally. Moving along.
Should we jump into our topic?
Have we not done that already?
No.
Okay,
Whoops,
my
I
mistake.
have the wrong email open.
That does not seem like that is pertinent to this podcast.
This is
at
a
all.
disaster. No, I had my topic, like I emailed it to myself.
Oh,
okay.
Well, I think that the point of this, that whole spiel there, that little debacle.
Spielberg.
There's no pun to be made with debacle in the movie industry. I tried, and there was nothing.
You tried for like 5 seconds.
I think the point of that whole debacle is that you are important enough to need more than one email address.
No, with Gmail, you can just email yourself.
My mistake. Well, yes, but you also said that you had the wrong email open. So it was clear that you have more than one email address.
No, I opened the wrong email.
Oh, you mean like the wrong email, not the... Okay. Excuse me, ladies and gentlemen. There's no...
You lied.
Solid callback. Because I've done that a couple times before, but it's so weird when you walk out of a movie theater and it's still light outside.
Yes.
And like not sunset because that's like bearable, but it's such... I don't know what it is, if it's just that I'm used to leaving a movie theater like at 10 p.m. or later, or if it's the fact that you were sitting in a dark room for the last 2.5 hours, just staring at a screen, that it's so weird to walk outside and just be like people are still awake. And I don't know why.
And I feel like it's not
to me.
It doesn't really matter what movie you go see. Like it's not really affected by like the type of movie or anything. It's
a universal thing.
Yeah, so it has more to do with just the experience of being in a theater
Yeah.
than like watching a movie.
Yeah, that's a good point. It's always a little weird watching movies in the daytime, even if you're not at a theater. But
Yeah.
I think it is partially just because that I'm used to seeing them at night. Because when you're inside the theater,
Because you have a job. And you're busy during the day.
I'm not busy during like daylight hours usually though, because I work very early in the morning.
But then you sleep during the day.
Yes, but sometimes I don't go to bed till like 6 o'clock p.m.
Whoops. I lied.
Ladies and gentlemen.
Ladies and gentlemen, I have lied.
Yes.
Okay.
I was gonna make a Bill Clinton joke.
Who's Bill Clinton?
You're 2.5 years older than me. I shouldn't be the one telling you who Bill Clinton is.
Okay, let's move on. I feel good about where we're at so far. We're like professionals at this, guys.
I'm not gonna lie. For about the first 5 minutes of recording, I wasn't sure we'd actually start.
That's also a good place to be.
I was
Raw and uncut.
or maybe not because of all that. It just speak of the devil, except that I didn't quite speak of it yet.
Are you talking about Bill Clinton again?
Topical burn, ladies and gentlemen.
What year is it? Is that a relevant joke?
Not even a little bit. It might have been more
Trump,
relevant.
am I right?
There you go. I was gonna say the Bill Clinton thing might have been more relevant if Hillary had won.
Oh, true.
But she didn't.
Ooh, burn.
I mean, I feel like that's public knowledge. I don't think I really... That wasn't a revelation.
You know, we have, like, international viewers.
I'm pretty confident we do not.
We do. But wait, what if this podcast just like totally goes viral?
I could see that happening. For sure. Two people that basically no one on the internet knows. Mm-hmm. Talking about
nothing.
A pretty niche topic, if we ever do get to the topic.
Yes.
That sounds like something that's going to take off. It's going to take off real fast.
Can we talk about the pronunciation of niche versus niche for just a moment here?
Niche is incorrect.
Yeah,
is it like
the American...
That's basically the only discussion.
Okay, but is it like the American pronunciation of... Like, is the word French? It sounds French.
That's possible. But I don't know.
Because, like...
I really don't know. I haven't researched, but I'm pretty confident that niche is just the correct way to pronounce it.
Yeah. Because it was weird, because, like, growing up...
Some people say niche.
Because growing up, I always heard people say niche. Like, always. And so that was the way I always said it, because I didn't know there were multiple pronunciations. And then, like, a few years ago, when I was at the film festival... one of my friends who's like a theater nerd, she said niche, and I almost corrected her. I was like, what are you saying?
That's
niche?
Funny.
Like, that's just the most pretentious way you could pronounce niche. And then I started hearing it more, and then like everybody is saying niche, and then you started saying it that way. Well, I don't know if you started saying it that way, but I started hearing you say the word. So it was a very confusing time in my life.
Well, I'm glad that you
started
got that
from
out.
the bottom. Now we're here. Okay, so this was just something that like I was thinking about in the car the other day that I thought would be like an interesting topic of discussion. So there's basically 3 different types of films, and I don't mean like genres or anything like that. I mean like just ways that like films keep the audience interested. There's like 3 different ways. Okay, so like the first way is something that is like very story driven. So like you're very interested in the story. Like I kind of think of like edge of your seat type movies, like thrillers and that sort of thing. Just where you're like, or even just something where you're just so invested in the story, like you want to know the ending, you want to know like how this plays out or whatever.
Like an epic, like a action adventure.
Yeah, and it could be that
on adventure.
It could also be like a drama. Like I almost think maybe something like The Help. I don't think you've seen that, but something where it's just like you want to know how the story ends, like a biography or something like that.
Just a compelling story.
Yeah. And then there's the second kind is stories that are like emotionally driven, so they're not necessarily like not necessarily a super interesting story, but you care so much about the characters and like what they're going through that kind of propels the story and kind of pulls you through. I think of movies like...
And that makes you interested in what happens to the characters.
Yeah. And I think that's probably... I think that's what most young adult fiction movies try to go for. Not all of them succeed. Because some of them, like, they try to be too much. Like, a lot of them try to be... like these big sci-fi epics and like this, it doesn't work. Driven. Yeah. I think of like the Divergent series, like that just had way too much going on.
Or the TV show Arrow.
Yeah.
They do that a lot.
Yeah. But like
I may get into that more because I really hate that show.
I do too.
Like season 2.
I forgot how much I hated that show until you brought it up. So
intruder alert. That part you might want to cut out.
Troy and Abed in the morning. That's such a specific joke. I don't know if our audience is gonna get that.
Probably not. I will say though that my favorite instance of Troy and Abed in the morning was when they had Rich on, the guy from pottery class who was like the perfect human.
Yes.
And he was like showing them how to make kettle corn or something. And then Jeff bursts in and he's talking to Rich and he's like, this isn't a real show. There's no one at home watching. And then he just, I don't remember. He said something just so positive, like, I know, but this is just a great way to start the day. And here, you want me to show you? This is actually a lot of fun. It's just like such a annoyingly positive person.
I know. Oh man, I hated that guy.
like that kind of person that you hate even though you shouldn't. It's because they're just so good that they make you feel bad about themselves. And you know that in real life, you know that person has some like serious stuff going on inside and they feel bad about themselves, and that's why they push so hard to, be such a good person, because they feel like they're trying to make up for something. Maybe they're guilty about something.
That sounds like your favorite YouTuber, Ageekable.
I don't understand the joke.
I lied.
Is that just gonna be our thing?
That's just gonna be like a fallback when I can't think of an actual joke. It's just like, whoops, I lied about there being a joke. There's not.
That's
It's just a callback.
That's important when you're shooting something that's like kind of uncut like this, is to just have like a
running
sort of garbage
joke.
Yeah, some sort of like garbage running joke that you can just throw in anytime. You don't have to.
And it's funny. Yeah, it's with minimal effort.
Preferably something like really cheap.
Yeah, like that.
I lied.
Yeah. And it's really short too. It's just 2 words.
Yeah. 2 words, 2 syllables.
So back to our topic.
Yeah, I thought.
Okay, so yeah, just talking about like emotionally driven stories. So like I was saying, like the Divergent movies, like they tried too hard to be like too many things. Like they had, sci-fi stuff going on. They had all this romantic drama, which didn't make any sense and was way over the top, especially in the book, which I just listened to on audiobook from my local library.
Wow. Oh, I thought you were going to plug Audible.
No, this is a non-sponsored podcast.
When are we going to get a sponsor?
Well, we have to have listeners first.
I think that we should get a sponsor first, and that will bring the listeners in.
We do have a sponsor. I lied. That's our sponsor. But then, so like a lot of young adult fiction, I think, tries to be very emotionally driven. And actually an example of a movie/book that I think does that very well is The Fault in Our Stars. Just because of like the topic that's driving the emotion, which is kids with cancer. Yeah. So it's something that like a lot of people feel really passionately about anyways. So it's very easy to like make the audience care about the characters on that basis. Mm-hmm. So I don't know. I thought that was probably that was the best example I could come up with of like something that's emotionally driven, but still, in my opinion, works and it's still a really great movie. So then the third kind of movie that we have, so we got, the story driven, the emotionally driven, and then the third one I don't really have a good name for. I want to say like gimmick driven, but that sounds too cheap.
Yeah.
It's basically just like movies that...
Indie movies, basically.
Well, yeah, I guess so. Movies that are like, they don't necessarily have a great story. You don't necessarily care that much about the characters, but they're very interesting to watch just because of the way the story is told, basically. So, like, through the style of filmmaking.
Probably, actually, the hardest kind to write and to pull off.
You have to be, you have to have a very, very visionary director, I think, to pull that off. And
because it takes a lot of commitment, and part of that commitment is going to be like working on your feet, because you're inherently doing things in a unique way, and so that's going to like present a lot of challenges that you can't really expect or plan for, and you have to be able to react to that, and still stay true to the concept.
Yeah, and I also feel like you have to have so many more ideas for moments and stuff than you do for like a normal film, because like
there's
normal
less dead time.
Yeah, exactly, and like a normal conversation, you have like the standard 4 camera setups or whatever, but I'm kind of thinking of like Edgar Wright, specifically of Scott Pilgrim versus the World, which is a film we watched recently,
which is
fantastic.
It might be my new favorite film.
Yeah,
but La La Land is up there.
Yeah. And so,
which is another one that's kind of told in a slightly unique way. Not so much. It was told in such a unique way. Mm-hmm. I guess that one's more like story driven. Because that one's like a really interesting and unique story, because it doesn't fit the typical Hollywood mold for a story.
But it
not,
also has like a lot of nostalgia built into it. So I
guess
feel
it's
like
just very visually interesting.
yeah.
Is what I was thinking of.
Yeah, and that's the other interesting thing. Like when we're talking about these three types of movies, I don't think necessarily that every movie will fit into just one of the three categories.
Sure.
Because like La La Land, I'd say, yeah, there's kind of some interesting visual stuff that definitely drives the story, but I'm also, very into the story.
And the characters. The characters
Yeah.
are very well
Yeah, the
written
characters are very good. So,
and very emotional.
Good movies I think will have elements of all three, but I just thought, it's interesting that like I'd never really thought of visually like
Yeah.
this is the different types of movies that you can tell or the types of different stories you can tell visually, and like how you can get the audience into your movie using those different methods. So
it's a very interesting thought, and I don't think I'd ever really heard that before, specifically movies don't market themselves in that way.
Right. Yeah, and that was something too. Yeah, like I hadn't really heard that either. Even
I just thought of
amongst film people and stuff.
I just thought of a good name for that third category.
Okay.
Conceptual.
Ooh, I like it.
Because that's pretty much the idea. Is it just that it's a movie based on a concept for how to tell a story?
Yeah. Because, like, for example, in Scott Pilgrim, like, there's not much of a story. Like, he's trying to, like, get this girl.
It's like it starts out very normal and then very suddenly turns, like, insanely sci-fi comic book.
Yeah.
For no reason. And it's, like, a very incoherent story and it's all over the place.
Yeah.
But all you care about is just that it's such a weird, like, interesting thing. And obviously the visual style is...
Yeah.
Even if... I could probably watch that movie without sound and just enjoy the visual aspect of it. It's
that's
so
very
good.
true. It's very true. I also recently...
Pardon me.
Your foot lied.
Okay, it's time to kill that meme.
Yeah, I agree. It lasted like 30 minutes.
Yeah, we're going to have to find one with a little more longevity than that.
We tried.
It's okay.
Could it be we tried?
That is going to have an even shorter lifespan.
That's
you're
too
right. Cliche.
You're right. But I was going to say I recently watched Baby Driver, which is Edgar Wright's
that's a great one.
Newest film. And yeah, I thought that one was interesting because it's not as like crazy and all over the place like Scott Pilgrim is, but it's still definitely like an interesting method of telling the story, and like so much of it relies so heavily on their crazy stunts and stuff that they do that was just like you're just sitting there watching it and you're just glued to the screen like, wow, I can't believe they did that, you know. So I feel like it still kind of has that element of it. And I don't know that I've seen any other Edgar Wright movies, but I think that's just the way that he operates. Kind of from what I've heard is he's a very like creative visionary director type person.
Yeah.
So.
If I could just mention real quick about Baby Driver because you brought it up.
Yes.
I saw that movie in the theater and I loved it. And that was what's his name again? The guy who plays Baby?
Ansel Elgort.
Thank you.
From The Fault in Our Stars fame.
Yes. That was the first movie I'd seen him in.
Yeah. He's pretty good.
But I loved him. He was great.
Yeah.
And I think that was actually also the first thing that I had seen. What's his name? The guy, with the
the guy from House of Cards.
Yeah,
I don't remember his name.
He had like a scandal a few months ago, and I feel like I should remember his name from that.
Oh, really?
Yes. Anyway, yes.
We do have Google.
Just look it up.
But this is live, so keep talking.
This is not live.
Oh, whoops. How do you do a live video again?
I thought I just pushed record and then it. Okay. Well, that didn't work, but I thought he was great. I thought it is a slightly interesting concept. The movie wasn't so much based around the conceptualism of it, but it's a pretty interesting idea for a main character.
Yeah.
Just
it did bother me that he used the name Baby like in his everyday life.
Yeah, that was a little weird.
I feel like that would have raised a lot of questions, and it did in the movie, but it like didn't like hurt him.
Yeah.
In any way, that was a little weird, but
I feel like that was going for something that didn't come across at all in the movie. Like, that seemed like...
Yeah,
that almost seemed like it was a reference to something.
Yeah.
Which, if it really was, I have no idea what it was referencing.
Kevin Spacey.
Thank you very much, Kevin Spacey.
That's
I
the guy
remembered it had he had a space-related word in his name, but that was it.
It's a very specific way to, like, remember something.
I remember things in weird ways. It's a thing.
But you didn't remember it.
Yes, thank you.
Anyways, what was I gonna say?
Don't cut this part out.
No. Oh, I thought it was kind of...
Oh yeah, Jamie Foxx was great in it too.
Yeah, there was so many celebrities in there. Yeah. Like all the main and supporting actors were like really famous people. Oh, I remember what I was gonna say. This is like a very little thing, but it's something that I really like in movies is when they have two of the characters communicating through a foreign language. In this case, sign language. Yeah. So I like sign language specifically when they have them communicating through sign language, but they don't have captions. I really like that personally because it's like...
That's true.
And even to an extent, like when they speak foreign languages, like just briefly with someone, if they don't have captions, because I think it makes you feel more like you're there. Mm-hmm. Because if you know sign language, then you know what they're saying. And if you don't, then you can, like, you're watching it really closely, trying to like...
Based on context, context and reactions.
Yeah.
You can kind of figure out roughly what they said.
And that was something that they did in Baby Driver, and I really liked that they did that.
Yeah, that is nice. Cool. And it also feels less like they're babying you as a viewer. You know, even if you really don't understand. Okay, I'm not going to lie. I did not realize that joke when I said it. And then just... You started laughing. I didn't know what you were laughing at. And then it hit me like a second after that. And now I'm angry.
Angry as a baby?
Are babies known for being angry?
Did you see that movie Boss Baby that came out a few years ago?
I did not. It's Academy Award nominated Boss Baby. Excuse you.
Excuse me. I lied.
Okay, I will allow it for that one. I'll allow that one.
You'll allow that callback. Yeah.
Oh, one.
What were we talking about?
I don't know, but I did want to mention that I thought it was really dumb when they were robbing the bank in that movie. Mm-hmm. Spoilers, I guess.
You can't say spoilers after you say the spoiler.
I absolutely can, and there's nothing you can do to stop me.
I mean, if they've seen the trailer, that's not a far leap.
Yeah, that's... Yeah. It's
okay,
pretty clear. But when they're robbing the bank and they wear those like infrared, or were they like visible LEDs?
Yes.
Okay, I can't remember.
I forget the explanation. Yeah, there were lights that you could see.
Yeah, it was like clear plastic that looks like safety goggles.
Yeah.
And then they around the rims of them they had like LED lights.
Yeah.
And the idea was that it would obscure your face in the security camera.
Okay,
and it would look less conspicuous walking down the street than, say, a ski mask.
Gotcha.
But the problem with that is that face-to-face with someone, they can clearly see your entire face and will be able to give a pretty accurate description of you to the police.
It's true. Yeah, I feel like there was a lot of things, and this always happens in, like, action movies, but there were a lot of things that's like, okay, in real life, the cops would be able to catch you based on this. Yeah. Like, for example,
of course, for the purpose of the movie, the main characters are unrealistically good at the thing that they do.
So, but like
which is rob banks in this instance.
First of all, Baby, like, right after the robbery... They get back to the headquarters and they're like counting out the money and stuff, like the first one in the movie. And he goes out to get coffee, which, by the way, that like one shot tracking shot at the beginning with him like dancing and stuff, and then he like goes in and then comes out or whatever.
I vaguely remember that.
It's fantastic. Yeah. But my problem is he's wearing the exact same outfit that he was wearing, and I think they had caught him. And all. Yeah, I think they had caught him on like some security camera or something, and like he was just wearing sunglasses, and he's wearing the same sunglasses.
Yeah,
and it's like he's just walking around in broad daylight. I mean, he kind of like hides from a cop, but still, it's like somebody is going to recognize you.
For sure.
And then the other thing is like, so they're switching cars a lot and stuff, which was pretty cool. Again, in the opening scene, you know, when he's like in the red car and he like, there's like 2 other red cars beside, like one on either side of him, and they look identical.
Oh,
and
yes,
then he
that
like
part was
pulls
really
up
cool.
and then like slams on the brake while they're under the bridge, so that they switch spots.
As the helicopter flies over the bridge, it catches the wrong car and then he takes an exit. That part was really cool.
It was pretty cool, but the problem is that then they like get out of that car and get into their actual car, and they're leaving DNA all over the place.
Yeah.
Like.
So like.
Yeah.
They could definitely get away, like, right now, but within, like, 24 hours, the cops are going to find the car that they ditched and all of their DNA evidence.
And, like, the movie suggests that, you know, he's living in, I think it was New York, right? New York?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So he's living in New York, and, like, he's just stays there and, like, just does robberies.
Yeah, it's like a long-term thing. It's like a job.
Yeah. And
it's just his job.
I didn't think it would be sustainable.
Definitely not.
So those were my criticisms of the movie, but it was a lot of fun. The acting was really, really good. I felt like it wasn't too violent for an R-rated movie. Like, they were relatively realistic, but...
Again, spoilers, but I think Jamie Foxx's death was...
it was pretty great.
It was great.
Yeah.
I loved it. It was, like, so out of nowhere.
Yeah.
And, like, it wasn't like a jump scare exactly, because there was, like, build up to it. Like... so basically, I don't remember clearly what was it exactly, because Baby was driving, and
so
Jamie Foxx's character was in the driver's seat.
So
the passenger
before Jamie Foxx's character, I can't remember his name. Before he gets in, he well, backing up like a few minutes, when Baby's sitting in the car waiting, he sees the teller lady that was nice to him when he was scouting out the place, and he kind of gives her a look like, don't go in there, because she's heading into work.
Call off today.
And
sick.
And so she like gets freaked out and runs back and grabs the security officer who's like in the back of the building, and she pulls him up, you know, or like they're walking towards the back entrance there right as the robbers are coming out, and Jamie Foxx's character shoots the security guard, and that like freaks Baby out and makes him like mad and stuff. And so then he's like refusing to drive, so they all get in the car and they're like, drive, and he's just like, no, like he's just sitting there like freaking out, and he's so mad. And so Jamie Foxx's character is like, you know, I'm gonna shoot you if you don't drive and all this, and he's like, fine, I'll drive. So he like reaches over and turns off the passenger side airbag and then slams on the gas and then just like rams into that, and then his airbag
what was
goes
it? What
off.
did he hit?
Oh, it was like, I don't know exactly what it was. It was some sort of like, there's this big truck in front of them, and there were like metal poles, like kind of like construction vehicle or something.
For some reason, I remembered it being like a tow truck, and it was the arm, but I don't think that's right.
No, I don't think it was. It was
like
tow
just
truck.
a truck that had like scraps of metal in the bed.
Yeah, it was some sort of like metal pole or something that was in the bed of the truck. But I don't think it was a tow truck.
So anyway, all that to say that it wasn't exactly a jump scare. There was like build up to it, and you sort of saw it coming, but at the same time, as he starts doing it, you don't really understand what he's doing.
Yeah, because it was out of character for him. Like, I don't think you've ever seen him kill anyone in the movie. Because
in fact, as you mentioned before, he went out of his way and in fact risked the entire thing just to save, a person who he didn't know. Yeah. Who was happened to be nice to him the day before. Yeah. And then later in the movie, he like, what does he do? He steals something, and then like later he comes from like an old lady, and then later he comes back to give it back to her or something.
No, he didn't come back. It was
or something.
Yeah, he like had a gun, and he like made this old lady get out of her car, and she's like freaking out, and so he gets in and he like turns it around and stuff, and then he like throws her purse out the window, and he says, "I'm so sorry," and then he drives off.
I'm taking your car, but you can have the $100 worth of stuff that you have in your purse.
But again,
I'm very generous.
Again, he was only wearing sunglasses for a disguise. If any at that point. Actually, I don't think he was at that point.
I thought you were going to say he was only wearing sunglasses.
This is a family show.
That's an entirely different crime.
But But no, my point is that, like, she would have easily been able to recognize him, and, like,
Actually,
I think she did at the end, like, describe him to
testified
the police.
on his behalf, actually.
Well, she did, but I think she also, like, gave a description to them that helped them catch him.
True.
And then she did testify on his behalf, but he still had to do, like, what, 10 years?
Was it?
I think so.
I didn't remember that part.
He
All
and
I
Lily
remember was
James,
the scene where he got released.
neither he nor Lily James aged a day in 10 years.
Yeah, I mean, do you expect those actors to age in the next 10 years?
I mean, they could have at least, like, given him a beard or something.
As soon as they start to show signs of aging, the Illuminati will replace them with clones.
That's concerning.
I forgot where I saw that, but there was a whole bit where someone was like, it was comedy, like they weren't serious, but they were going through like all these conspiracy theories about
Were they being controlled by the Illuminati, though? Just playing off real things as jokes so that you wouldn't think it was real?
Dear God.
Oh,
right.
boy.
This is some great breakthroughs. I don't know why
What do you like?
the name Toby Tyler just caught my eye.
Oh, yeah. I found that at a garage sale the other day.
That's great.
Actually, wait. This is my stack of childhood memories.
Oh,
we might
that's
as well get this out
fantastic.
now. So, first, backyard soccer.
Give me that one.
I tried playing it by myself in a hotel room once. It was not that fun. It is way too easy to beat now.
I do not believe that. It's gonna be great when I play it.
It was way too easy.
I do not believe that.
If we could, like, figure out a way to play against each other, it would be fun.
Good day, sir.
I don't have a comeback for that. So I'm just going to move on.
You don't need one.
The next is this tape of Toby Tyler and the Circus, which we watched all the time at Mama Papa's house. I think I paid like $1 for this at a garage sale or something. I was very excited.
That's in such bad shape. It's fantastic.
It really is. Okay, so this is our first podcast, and we've had some technical difficulties. So we just lost like 45 minutes.
Yeah.
And the outro was really great. I'm sad you guys don't get to see that. And
But it's okay because we just spent the last 10 hours memorizing it word for word, and we're going to recreate it perfectly. Okay? Yep. No. Oh,
No,
okay.
you keep talking. You keep talking.
Back to the left. This is not my good side. Oh, wait,
Okay.
that's my fault. Okay,
Never mind.
there we go. Now
Okay,
we're good.
sorry, we're good now. Just had to readjust the framing on the camera. So, anyways, I think we were in the middle of talking about childhood memories.
Yes.
And
I thought you were going to say child slavery for some reason.
we did not talk about, just to be clear, we
Carry
did
on.
not talk about that in the lost
Nobody
footage.
said child slavery, and you cannot prove that there are children living in this basement. Not based on this video alone, at least.
I'm a child and I live in this basement.
Okay, now they can prove that children live in this basement based on this video. Thank you very much,
I'm
Rebecca.
not, I lied, I'm not a child.
You're not allowed to testify in court ever if I'm involved in the case, even indirectly.
Have you ever read any U.S. laws?
Because you're just going to be like, yeah, he did it. I saw him do it.
I got it on video.
Then he offered me $10,000 not to do this.
Okay, anyways, so childhood stuff.
Yes, of course.
Tapes, okay.
Yes, of course.
So the next thing that I got was Toby Tyler. I got it for like, that was...
That's very interesting.
Again, we've already recorded this, so he already knows all this.
Wow. What did it cost
it
you?
didn't
Like
record.
$1? That's in great shape.
It was $1. It's in terrible shape.
What if they put the CW series The Arrow on VHS?
No, you can't jump ahead. You can't jump ahead.
Oh, another topic.
This is gonna.
we
I'm sorry.
lost.
This is gonna be very incoherent. But
Maybe I should stop making these jokes that only work if you saw the footage that was lost.
there was no footage. Anyways.
There was footage that was lost. That is incorrect, sir.
Anyways, so I spent $1 on this tape of Toby Tyler, and
I actually really want to watch that. I love that movie.
It's a fantastic movie. I grew up watching this movie, and I looked it up on eBay, of course, to see if it was like worth selling or anything, and you can get it on DVD for like less than $5. So It definitely makes no sense for me to own a VHS.
I disagree.
Except for the nostalgic
And
value.
the authenticity.
Yes.
They didn't back in the good old days when they didn't make these highfalutin DVDs and laser beams and Star Wars. For those of you playing along at home, Star Wars came out a long time ago.
This might have actually come out before Star Wars, though.
It probably did. That was probably
I feel
the
like
50s.
this was 50s or 60s.
But they probably didn't have VHS when that movie was released. Maybe not. How old is VHS?
No, I was gonna say, I have no idea. But what I was gonna say is, like, if you get like an old VHS of The Sound of Music, you can see when they were doing the scene 16 going on 17, the girl who played, I forget her name, but the oldest daughter, she actually like fell off of the benches at one point when they were like doing the roundabout scene, and she like twisted her ankle, so they had her wear an ankle brace. And on on old VHSs, you can see the ankle brace that she wore, but then like when it came out on DVD and stuff, they actually went back and took it out digitally. So it's only on like the old VHSs that you can watch that.
Okay.
And yeah.
Wow, yeah, this is that VHSs were invented in the early 1970s.
Wow, that's a lot later than I would have thought.
Yeah, that's not really all that long ago.
Yeah.
That's less than 50 years ago.
You learn something new every day.
Yeah. So that movie legitimately was probably released before VHSs were invented.
That's crazy.
So it must have
it
been
was just a theater.
Just film.
Yeah.
I guess that's the only way you watched movies back then.
Yeah.
If you had a projector or if you went to a theater.
Interesting. Well, the next thing that I got this for free at the library. It's a VHS of the original Parent Trap with Haley Mills, the only acceptable version of that story.
I'm also looking forward to watching that one again.
That is an excellent movie.
That's a classic.
You're like pushing your nose right up against this, but it could actually be closer.
Yes, here we go. Actually, you know what? We don't need this thing.
You're going to get a ton of wind noise.
Ladies and gentlemen, that movie is a classic.
That sounded so terrible. I apologize to anyone who might be watching this.
The great thing is that wasn't even funny. That just like...
How is that the great thing?
That was so bad, like I peeked the microphone out and the audio just cut. I don't know if that's going to translate to like the recorded file, but that's what I heard live was the audio like cut out twice. So it doesn't even...
I have no idea how that's going to sound.
Yeah, it didn't even work.
It's, oh man.
Another classic goof on this little podcast that we have here.
Oh. I thought you were going to talk about something in old movies. Like, I brought up something from Culture about The Sound of Music.
Are you trying to take are you trying to high road me right now? Are you trying to high road me right now, bro?
Yes.
Are you trying to highbrow me right now, road fam?
What?
I don't understand the confusion.
Okay, so, speaking of transitions into things that we should talk about, what if, because you said you wanted to talk about Arrow, so how would you feel if they put Arrow on something as valuable as a VHS?
Kill him.
The VHSs?
Just kill him. Kill him right now. I don't care. I'll do it. I'll confess. I don't care.
You should care a little.
I'll kill him. I'll turn myself in. I don't care.
You should care.
I don't care. I don't care, bro.
You should care a little.
Thanks for having me on, by the way. I'm a big fan of the show.
Oh yeah, no problem. I'm so glad to have you here.
Big fan of the show. I may have just confessed intent to commit murder.
This show is a big fan of you, by the way.
You know what? That makes me feel all warm inside.
You and your whole fam squad.
I appreciate that, fam.
This podcast is part of your fam squad.
This podcast is brought to you by the fam squad. I mean,
no, this podcast is brought to you by audio books from your library,
which is free, ladies and gentlemen. Your tax dollars.
Well, it depends on where you live. Sometimes you have to pay like a yearly rate,
your
but it's still
dollars.
Probably cheaper. I have no idea. How much does Audible cost? I don't know because I'm not sponsored by them.
I don't know, but I bet we would know if we were sponsored. Hey,
that's kind of debatable, actually. I might.
I feel
it's a lot of stuff to memorize.
I feel like you would know.
It's a lot of stuff to memorize.
I feel like you would know.
It's a lot. Yeah, it's a lot of work to memorize.
I feel like you would know.
My brain isn't what it used to be. My memory.
Okay.
Okay, I feel like we should move on.
Not even mid-20s yet, ladies and gentlemen.
I feel like we should move on. So yeah, okay, so we were talking a little bit about Arrow earlier, and
great show.
Do you?
Big fan.
Yes. Do you want to introduce it a little bit because like I haven't seen as much. You've seen like through season 4. I've only seen like the first season and a half.
I saw through a majority of season 4.
Okay.
Did not finish it.
So
real bad.
I guess kind of spoiler warning if you care about that show, but
you shouldn't.
Find something better to do with your time.
So earlier,
I feel like we're way too obsessed with the whispering into the mic thing. Maybe it's just me.
Yeah, no, I'm definitely overusing that, and I will.
Oh, it's gonna be great. Though.
I will listen to this after we record it.
Oh, okay.
So
we'll have a viewer.
Yeah, like. Well, like once it's uploaded, I'm gonna watch it because I want to understand all the annoying things I'm inevitably doing. So I
don't know. It sounds pretty good in my headphones.
It does. You know. Well, no, it sounds good, but
yeah.
It's it's gonna be different from
Esther thinks we should move on.
Yes. Okay. Who wants to hear more about how we're planning to get better at doing this?
Okay, so talking about Arrow, so we were talking earlier. No. So we're
neither of the. We'll let the record show neither of the cameras raised their hands. So I'm gonna take that as a no.
By very definition, the record shows that.
Technically, no. We're not. The cameras are not in the shot. The cameras
are the shot.
By the way, you have to cut back and forth between each angle as I turn to each camera.
So talking about Arrow a little bit. So earlier,
in the context of what we were talking about with 3 different styles of basically attraction to a film.
Yeah, like what makes people watch like specifically films, but it applies to TV shows and other forms of video media as well.
Cinema.
Would we qualify Arrow as cinema?
No, I would not.
Yeah. Okay. So like with Arrow, again, I haven't seen it that much, but like you were talking about, they try to, like it's supposed to be like a sci-fi, action show, but they rely so heavily on like drama and specifically like romantic drama that, it kind of takes away from that.
So, we mentioned how a good movie or TV show will, typically will focus on one, but combine aspects of the other of the 3 different styles, which we outlined as story-driven, just telling an interesting story, emotionally driven, where you care about characters, and what happens to them, and then storytelling or conceptual, where it's just based on an interesting idea for how to tell a story.
Right.
So, a good movie will focus on one of those, but usually combine elements in the other two.
Right, yeah.
Arrow splits it 50-50 between 2, namely story-driven and emotional. So, it was originally just sci-fi action, primarily. And there were definitely romantic subplots.
Yeah.
But it... by about season 3 and getting worse and worse as it goes on, it had devolved to the point where instead of focusing on Arrow and his like struggle to rid the world of crime, I guess, and instead of focusing on like creating interesting new villains, characters, and like challenges for him to overcome, and focusing on him learning like new ways to be better at what he does, it either ran out of ideas or stopped trying.
Yeah.
They either ran out of ideas or stopped trying to come up with interesting ideas for characters and villains, and instead filled that time with pretty much like garbage C-list teen drama.
Yeah.
And it very quickly devolved to the point where it became one of those shows where you try to think through the cast roster and try to pick a pair of characters of the opposite gender or maybe even the same gender who haven't slept with each other.
Yeah.
And
that's kind of insane.
Yeah.
And it's interesting too, because like you're saying, most good films have like a balance of those two or three of those three elements. And like Arrow, the problem with that is that like I felt like the action and the sci-fi elements were really interesting, but the like the romantic drama and like the emotional side of it I didn't find interesting because I didn't really care enough about the characters.
Definitely.
And it just all felt very forced. Again, that might be a symptom of being a CW show, although not all of their shows are like that. A lot of them definitely lean heavily on that.
Yeah. And I think Flash kind of did a good version of that, where they made like actually interesting characters, and specifically actually excuse me, in Arrow, the female characters were really boring.
Yeah.
And a majority of his love interests were, at least originally, they were basically only on the show to be a love interest.
Yeah.
Whereas in Flash, I was about to say no spoilers, but definitely spoilers.
Spoiler warning.
Spoiler warning.
You should watch this
is what
show.
I meant to say.
It's actually a good show.
Iris, his love interest.
Yeah.
Throughout the show, for a long time is not his love interest, and even though you pretty much know, if you know anything about the characters, they're going to end up together. She is developed like way more as her own very interesting, fleshed out character before that idea is really introduced in a meaningful way. I mean, they kind of, hint that he likes her or whatever, but so that was like a good version of this.
Yeah.
Whereas with Arrow, by season 4, I genuinely think that the entire idea for the whole season arc was originally an idea for one episode.
Yikes.
Because that's really all the material they had.
Yeah, that's rough.
It was basically just one villain, whereas like in earlier seasons they would pretty much introduce a new villain in every episode.
Wow.
And Flash did that too.
Yeah.
And that was by far the most interesting part of the show to me.
But still, like, because they would have a villain for each episode and a villain for like the season, right? In Flash.
Yeah. They would at least have like a final boss, so to speak. Yeah. Even if they that character hadn't necessarily been present throughout the season.
So they're like kind of getting hints of it throughout the season, right?
Yeah.
Kind of building
or at least,
to something.
Or at least it's like a much bigger challenge than previously.
Okay, gotcha.
So it feels, like a finale.
Yeah. Which is nice.
But in Arrow, they only had the one villain who's like, he just got annoying, but not in a good way, not in a way that makes you hate him as a villain, where like you want to see him beaten, but more annoying in a way like, okay, we get his deal, let's just deal with him, and because I'm really bored of him. Also, the actor who plays him looks very similar to Nick Offerman.
Oh, really? That's funny.
And in fact, I don't think I'd seen all of Parks and Rec at that point, but or maybe I hadn't even watched it at all. I don't remember.
Oh, wow.
But I remember thinking, like,
days.
I know this guy looks familiar. And then I was like, that's Nick Offerman. And then I was like, no, it is not.
That's really funny.
But so basically, because they really didn't have enough material for a 20-plus episode long season.
Yeah, wow.
Again,
that's rough.
This is really enough material for at most maybe a 2-part episode, like an hour of material that they stretched into a 22-plus episode.
That's
season.
insane. You just need to cancel your show at that point. Like, please stop.
They did another season after
man.
that, there's 5 at least. I haven't been keeping up. They may be working on 6.
Yeah.
But
it's rough.
Because they didn't have enough material for a whole season, the episodes became very formulaic, where it would basically open with Arrow and his team fighting some bad guys.
Okay.
And just kind of like pretty basic, boring action.
With you so far?
The kind of stuff that you could do 22 times in a year.
Yeah.
Just pretty boring, basic action that doesn't really advance any story. And then they leave, and then you get like some like drama scene, that like, again, it leans hard on the action, and then it leans hard on the drama.
Yeah.
And there's never any balance in between there, and they don't really like connect with each other at all.
Okay, yeah.
It's like 2 separate stories.
Yeah.
That are pretending that they're connected.
That's interesting. Yeah.
And then again, doesn't really advance the story. And then you go back to more action, where they kind of, fight some bad guys and maybe lose, because it's the middle of the episode, so it's the low point.
Gotcha.
And then, more drama, and then, repeat that cycle a couple times until they make an emotional breakthrough. And then
Gotcha.
More action.
Gotcha.
And they do better because of the emotional breakthrough.
Nice.
And we're still not really closer to the bad guy, but we killed some time.
So I have a question for you.
Hit me.
Is there a credited writer on this show?
Yes, I believe so.
Did they hire that writer to write an episode, and then the writer didn't get to write the whole episode? They just wrote like the plot points, and then they fired that writer, and then they used those plot points for an entire season.
Yes.
Because it sounds very formulaic.
And then that writer sued them for using his intellectual property.
I'm pretty sure he was under contract.
He lost the lawsuit because he was under contract.
But it is interesting.
No,
so you were talking about...
For real though, Stephen Amell, it was all improv. Stephen Amell just improvised.
Well, he's actually pretty good at improv then.
Yeah, actually, because even though it was by no means good, it came off like it was written.
It wasn't written well, but it was written.
It came off like someone spent time writing it.
But you do bring up an interesting point when you were...
That's the best thing I can say about that show. It comes off like someone spent time writing it.
A little bit of time.
Not necessarily a professional.
Not a lot of time.
Not a lot of time.
It's interesting because you brought up an interesting point when you were talking about Iris, kind of how they, developed her as a character before they introduced her as the love interest, because I'll talk about my favorite TV couple of all time, which is Jim and Pam from The Office.
Of course.
Which I know is a bit cliche, but they're really, really well-written characters.
A close second, in my opinion, would be Andy Dwyer and April Legate.
I thought you were talking about Andy from The Office. I was real confused for a second there.
Yeah, no.
Okay.
He and Aaron were pretty good, but...
yeah, okay. They were fine. But Jim and Pam...
I actually really liked them. But
yeah.
I didn't,
They were pretty good. Oh, but anyways, so Jim and Pam, like, the thing that I like about them, because they're very well written. And the cool thing is that, like, when you first meet them... again, spoilers if you haven't seen The Office.
Come on, you've seen The Office.
But Esther hasn't seen The Office.
Go watch it again.
I forgot she was in the room.
She's... Don't worry about her.
Not again.
Don't worry about her. Pay no attention to the Esther in the corner. She's not important.
She's in the closet now.
She's always been in the closet.
I can still hear it. Okay.
I thought I could whisper quiet enough.
But the thing I like about Jim and Pam
yes,
is that, it's interesting because when they're first introduced, it's kind of like, Jim obviously has a crush on Pam.
Right.
He likes her.
And they don't really waste any time in introducing that idea.
Right. But the cool thing is that they kind of like develop them as... a lot of their romance is them like doing things like pranking Dwight and kind of like goofing off and doing stuff like that. Yeah. And it's interesting because it's also set up as that's something that Jim really likes doing, and so it's set up first Jim enjoys like pranking Dwight, and then it's set up, okay, that's something that Jim and Pam can do together, and it's kind of this cutesy little thing
because Pam likes it as much as he
yeah
does.
But at first you don't necessarily realize it. You just think like, oh, maybe Pam's just doing it because like she likes Jim and Jim enjoys doing it. But then there's a period of time when Jim's gone and it's, you know, Pam, you know, in the office with, not by herself, but you know, and
effectively she's by herself.
Emotionally she's by herself. But you get to see her like pranking Dwight by herself and her goofing off and doing all this stuff, and you start to realize, oh, that's just something that Pam genuinely enjoys doing, and that's why she and Jim work so well together.
And I do think that was an important moment to show that like they're friends because they like the same things, and they weren't doing the same things just to be with each other.
Exactly. So I thought that was...
Although that can be, equally valid, I think.
All right. Well, I think we're going to go ahead and start wrapping this up here because I'm tired.
Fair enough. It's like noon.
Yes.
There's no...
It's
almost exactly noon.
It's so late. Actually, the real reason we're wrapping up is because lunch is ready. So anyways, go ahead and let us know in the comments section below.
It's below.
I know, I was doing a thumbs up.
Yeah, but it's below.
No,
give the video a like.
No, you no, don't do that.
Give the video the like. It's the one that looks like this.
Ding that bell. But yeah, seriously, we're probably gonna start doing this a little bit more frequently. This is something that I enjoy doing.
Let's make it a daily thing.
When
why don't
the
we?
Equipment stops working.
Let's make it a daily thing. Why don't we?
It's not gonna be daily.
Let's make it an hourly thing.
It might be weekly.
Let's make it a weekly thing.
It might be monthly.
Let's make it a weekly thing.
It's not going to be. Weekly.
In hindsight, I'm pretty confident that that's going to be annoying to listen to.
Yeah, it probably will. So,
are you talking
about the whole thing?
Yeah,
the whole thing,
sure.
yes. Yeah. Did it stop? Okay, so leave us a comment. Let us know what you liked about this, what you didn't like, and we will probably do it again in the near future. Okay, bye.
Give us topics for a new one.